Good morning, you're watching Anewz. I'm Dilek Tuna. Here are the top stories. Donald Trump weighs US involvement as Israel-Iran strikes intensify. Canada's Carney announces a new package of sanctions against Russia as the G7 summit wrapped up in Alberta. Georgia and Türkiye reaffirm their commitment to boost middle corridor connectivity. US President Donald Trump has held an emergency meeting with top national security officials at the White House on Tuesday. According to local media, the talks focused on possible US involvement in Israel's military campaign against Iran.
US President Donald Trump gathered his national security team at the White House on Tuesday for an emergency meeting. According to CBS News, the main topic was whether the US should support Israeli airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. The White House has not confirmed what was discussed. One possible target, the network says, is Fordo, a heavily fortified uranium enrichment site in Iran. CBS also reports that Trump's advisors remain divided on whether to take direct military action. A White House official said Trump spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu by phone on Tuesday. What they discussed hasn't been made public. Donald Trump also posted a warning in social media that the US knows where Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is hiding, calling him an easy target, though saying there are no plans for now to act. He called for the country's unconditional surrender. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, responded online, saying Israel would be shown no mercy and called for a strong response to Israeli strikes. The conflict has entered its sixth day. Israeli military authorities say more missiles were launched from Iran early Wednesday morning local time. The IDF also reported has struck uranium centrifuge production sites and weapons factories in Iran overnight. Iran reports 224 deaths, while Israel says 24 people have died on its side. In both countries, evacuations of residents from their homes are underway. Meanwhile, the US is stepping up its military presence in the Middle East. Reuters reports that more fighter jets and warships are being deployed, with officials calling it a defensive move to protect American forces and intercept incoming missiles.
G7 leaders meeting in Canada have reaffirmed support for Ukraine as President Volodymyr Zelensky urged more military aid and tougher sanctions on Russia. His appeal comes amid signs of division, with President Donald Trump leaving the summit early.
At the second day of the G7 summit in Canada, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made a direct plea for greater support. Standing alongside Zelensky, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney pledged billions of Canadian dollars in new military aid to Kyiv and announced a new package of sanctions against Russia.
With our international partners, we're launching a major new package of sanctions on individuals, on companies, on vessels, the Shadow Fleet, to exert maximum pressure on Russia. We're also sending over $2 billion in funding for drones, ammunition, armored vehicles to help Ukrainians defend their territory, as well as a $2.3 billion loan to help rebuild the infrastructure in that country. And take a moment to reiterate our condolences given the barbarism witnessed overnight in Kyiv caused by Russia.
A Canadian official initially said Ottawa had dropped plans for the G7 to issue a strong statement on the war in Ukraine after resistance from the United States. Zelensky used the moment to thank allies for new aid and repeated Ukraine's readiness to talk peace, but only if Russia feels the pressure.
It's a big tragedy for us, and we need support from our allies, and I'm here, and thank you for the military package. It's important for our soldiers to be strong at the battlefield, to stay strong out until Russia will be ready for the peace negotiations. We are ready for the peace negotiations, unconditional ceasefire.
Meanwhile, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov on Tuesday referred to the G7 as rather useless after Russia was kicked out of the G8 in 2014. With conflict ongoing, Zelensky's visit underscored the stakes and the challenge of keeping allies aligned, echoed in the early departure of US President Donald Trump.
Once a figure in US politics, former Senator Bob Menendez has officially begun serving time behind bars. The 71-year-old is now in federal custody after being sentenced for a sweeping corruption scheme involving foreign governments, gold bars and stacks of hidden cash.
Former US Senator Bob Menendez reported to federal prison on Tuesday to begin serving an 11-year sentence. The sentence follows a high-profile corruption case involving bribes and foreign influence. The 71-year-old Democrat surrendered at the Federal Correctional Institution in Schuylkill, Pennsylvania. He is expected to serve his time at the facility's minimum security camp due to the white-collar nature of his crimes. Menendez, who once chaired the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, was convicted in July 2024 for accepting bribes and acting as an unregistered agent for Egypt and Qatar. Prosecutors said he used his position to advance foreign interests in exchange for cash, gold bars, and luxury items. During a search of his home, FBI agents found $480,000 in cash hidden in clothing and furniture, 13 gold bars worth around $150,000, and a luxury convertible in his garage. At sentencing, the judge called Menendez a corrupt politician. The former senator has denied wrongdoing and recently lost an appeal to delay his prison term. He also asked President Donald Trump for a pardon or sentence reduction, repeating Trump's claims that the justice system is politically biased. His wife, Nadine Menendez, was also convicted in connection with the case and is scheduled to be sentenced in September.
The European Union plans to impose a full ban on Russian gas imports by the end of 2027. The European Commission has introduced a new legislation to support this goal. According to the proposed rules, all new contracts signed by the end of this year will be banned from 2026 onwards. Short-term contracts will be banned starting Tuesday, while existing long-term agreements will be terminated by early 2028. EU Energy Commissioner Dan Jorgensen stated that the decision aims to end Europe's energy dependence on Russia and increase pressure on Moscow.
Commissioner Rosie Birchford for DW.
The legal service of the Commission.
China is quietly boosting its oil reserves as tensions escalate in the Middle East. Experts see it as a strategic move to strengthen energy security and reduce exposure to global market shocks. Our Mahnur Maktoum has more in Beijing.
In an effort to shield itself from the volatile energy markets, China has quietly built up a significant crude oil surplus as tensions in the Middle East continue to rise, especially between Iran and Israel. In May, the country added around 1.4 million barrels per day to its reserves, the third month in a row of large stockpiling. This came as refinery output dropped to 13.9 million barrels per day, the lowest since last August, due to maintenance at several major plants. At the same time, China continued strong crude import and saw a small increase in domestic production. With the refinery demand slowing, all the extra oil is going into storage. Analysts say this is a smart move by Beijing to be better prepared for the global supply risk and help ease some of the price hike that is to be expected. Brent crude has already jumped nearly 6% since mid-June. The impact of China stockpiling will likely be seen around August as shipment delays catch up. Refinery production is likely to resume in June-July, but with the Middle East still unstable, China may continue to keep buying oil for storage, perhaps from cheaper suppliers like Iran and Russia. This helps China control both its energy security and global market influence. Manu Maktoum, Anewz, Beijing.
The second Central Asia-China summit has wrapped up in Astana. Our Fariza Kalimurzuna has all the details from Astana.
Central Asia and China have declared their intention to strengthen their eternal friendship. Following the meeting in Astana, the heads of the state signed the Astana Declaration of the Second Summit, as well as the Treaty of Eternal Good Neighborliness, Friendship and Cooperation. One of the key outcomes of the summit, a comprehensive action plan to deliver high-quality results under China's Belt and Road Initiative. Also, a memorandum on investment cooperation in the fields of green economy was signed. In total, 12 multilateral documents and 5 sister city agreements were signed. Astana was not chosen by chance. It was here back in 2013 that President Xi Jinping first unveiled the concept of the Silk Road economic belt. Over a decade later, the Kazakh capital is once again in the spotlight, symbolizing a new phase of regional integration. China announced $209 million in development aid for Central Asian nations. Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev welcomed Xi's vision of building a community of shared destiny among neighboring countries. In turn, Tokayev proposed the creation of a joint cargo terminal at the Caspian Sea port of Kuruk. Energy cooperation was also high on the agenda. Kazakhstan expressed readiness to sign a deal with China on nuclear energy development. Xi Jinping, meanwhile, issued a clear warning against tariff and trade wars, saying such conflicts produce no winners. Global media have also taken note of the summit. Bloomberg noted that Xi's visit sends a strong signal. Central Asia is no strategic battleground where Beijing is ready to compete with the West for influence. But China's growing interest in Kazakhstan is not just geopolitical, it's also economic. China ranks among the top 5 investors in Kazakhstan, investing more than $26 billion into various sectors of the economy. As a result, more than 35 memorandums were signed during the summit, totaling over $17 billion, from the green energy and infrastructure to trade, logistics, and the development of regional hubs. The next Central Asia-China summit is scheduled for 2027, and this time it will be held on Chinese soil. Fariza Kalimurzina, Anewz, in Astana, Kazakhstan.
Armenia's Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan is set to meet with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara in what Armenian officials describe as a historic visit. The Speaker of the Armenian Parliament officially confirmed the visit, referring to it as a bilateral meeting. Some Armenian outlets report that the meeting is expected to take place in Ankara on the 20th of June. Georgia's government has proposed dissolving the National Security Council with a formal request sent to Parliament. According to the proposal, the council would be abolished starting September, and its tasks would be performed by the government if approved. The changes will be added to the law on national security policy planning and coordination. In Ankara, strengthening regional cooperation and strategic ties were at the center of discussions when the Speaker of the Parliament of Georgia, Shalva Papuashvili, met with his Turkish counterpart, the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Türkiye, Numan Kurtulmuş, yesterday. The high-level meeting underscored the shared commitment of the two nations to deepen economic, political and regional collaboration.
Georgia and Turkey continue to expand their economic ties and political engagement. The Speaker of the Parliament of Georgia, Shalva Papuashvili, met with the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Türkiye, Numan Kurtulmuş, in Ankara on Tuesday. During the meeting, both sides noted significant progress in bilateral and multilateral cooperation between both countries. They say the progress is reflected in growing economic ties and expanding political engagement. The speakers emphasized the steady pace of high-level visits between the two countries as a key driver of this positive momentum. Speaker Papuashvili expressed his appreciation to Türkiye for its unwavering support for Georgia's territorial integrity. The two sides discussed the encouraging state of interparliamentary relations, reaffirming their determination to further strengthen their relationship, highlighting the essential role parliamentary friendship groups play in bringing the nations closer. Attention also turned to trilateral parliamentary cooperation, with both speakers confirming that preparations are underway for a meeting involving the parliaments of Georgia, Azerbaijan and Türkiye. Regional and global developments were on the agenda as well, with both sides pledging continued efforts to promote peace and stability in the region. Finally, the meeting addressed major regional and strategic projects. The two speakers reaffirmed their readiness to enhance energy and transport connectivity, focusing on unlocking the full potential of the Middle Corridor, an increasingly vital route for trade and economic integration across the region.
Pakistan has shown strong diplomatic support for Tehran, condemning Israel's attack on Iran as violations of international law. For more messages from Pakistan, we go to Kumrat and our Tamim Bahis.
Amid rising tensions between Iran and Israel, Pakistan has taken a strong diplomatic stance in support for Tehran, while firmly rejecting false reports about any nuclear threats. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, in a meeting with Iran's ambassador in Islamabad, condemned what he called Israeli aggression and expressed full solidarity with the Iranian people. He reaffirmed Pakistan's support for Iran at the United Nations and stressed that Israel's actions violate international law and the UN Charter. Meanwhile, Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar rejected what he called fake news, claiming Pakistan had threatened a nuclear strike against Israel. He clarified that Pakistan's nuclear capability is solely for national defense. Dar also said Iran had appreciated Pakistan's support at the United Nations and confirmed ongoing diplomatic efforts with both Iran and the United States. Former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif also weighed in, calling Israel's actions oppressive and reaffirming Pakistan's long-standing support for Iran. He emphasized that Pakistan's nuclear status is meant to ensure peace, not to start wars. With diplomatic channels active and misinformation on the rise, Pakistan has called for calm, responsible reporting and dialogue over escalation, while standing firm in its support for Iran. Tamim Bahis reporting for Anewz from Kumrat, Pakistan.
And now to sports news. The World Cup is underway and we're coming to you with the latest results and transfer buzz. Our Nick Summerby has all the latest headlines and developments from across the sporting world.
Well, the World Club Cup is well and truly underway. The game's going on a regular basis. I will bring you up to date, but the fans have been very happy with the ref cam. This is the new technology. This is possibly the way which we'll be watching football in future. There's a little camera on the referee, so you're actually involved in the game. So everything what he's seeing, you're seeing. The fans are absolutely delighted with that, so that's a big plus. Obviously, there's been other situations with it where there's been lack of fans at some of the games. I can imagine that because it's something new and people don't know much about it. I think as the competition goes, we get the South Americans, we get the Europeans, and it starts to really get interesting at the end. I would imagine the excitement is going to happen. But just to give you a couple of results to keep you up to date, Palmeiras 0-0 with Porto, Botafogo 2-1 with Seattle Sounders, Chelsea who won 2-0 against LAFC. Then went to Tuesday, River Plate 3-1 against our Reds, Ulsan lost against Malmedy Sundowners, and then you've got Boca Juniors, the famous Boca Juniors. Hopefully we see them going far. 2-2 with Benfica as well, and Flamengo 2-0 with Tunis. Live, which will be at the moment, which will be all over obviously when this goes out at the moment, Monterrey and Inter Milan are playing, which is 1-1. We've got Manchester City today with Wydad. And then you've got Real Madrid as well with Al Hilal. Transfer news, as I say, it's speculation until we can actually confirm, but Kyle Walker maybe not moving from where he lives in Manchester, but moving club for sure. He's not going to be at Manchester City, he's not in the plans, so there is rumour that he is going to be going to Everton, which is just down the road, which will be a good move. I think it suits that. That's where they need a position there, so keep your eye out for that one. Chris Wilder, who was unlucky not to take Sheffield United to the Premier League, just missed out against Sunderland in the playoff final. They're saying that he maybe is going to lose his job, which I think is a bit harsh. That I thought he did a magnificent job. When you go to the playoff final, anything could happen, and he just missed out. So hopefully Chris does keep his job as well. Mikel Antonio, remember about a year and a half ago when he had that serious car accident in his Ferrari, well, we thought he would never play again. He's played for Jamaica, so that's unbelievable recovery. He had to pretty much learn how to walk again. You know, and the rehabilitation, what he's done, obviously, with the help of West Ham, has got him back on the field. So that's good news with him, but I don't think he's going to be at West Ham next season. Rashford, talking about him, maybe Spurs. It's about his salary. A lot of these players as well. It's about their huge salaries and how they're actually going to be able to do a deal and make it happen. But we want to see Rashford playing on a regular basis. Napoli, obviously won the league last season with Conte, but looking to do big business. We know they've got Kevin De Bruyne. That looks exciting. Grealish or Sancho, they're talking Sancho, who's at Chelsea last season, Dortmund the season before. They're obviously trying to get someone to cover on that left-hand side. Grealish, I think it will be a good move for him. Just needs to get away, needs to refresh and needs to get back and get that love of football back. And obviously now they're talking as well in the newspapers in England about Sesko, Benjamin Sesko. Arsenal are desperate and need a centre forward. They are talking about between 68 and 85 million for him. I think he is a superstar. He will make the difference for Arsenal. And just to finish off, big day today. It soon comes around very quickly. I'm not only just talking about the World Club Cup, the Premier League fixtures come out today, so we're getting ready to go again. The Premier League will start on the 16th and 17th of August. Then they will play the full season. When the final game of the Premier League finishes this next season, it'll be 18 days away until the World Cup. So that is in Mexico, Canada and America. So I will keep you right across anything. It's obviously the World Club Cup, any other sport as well, and I'll get back to you in the next couple of days, but I look forward to your company.
And these are the updates from Baku for now. Stay tuned to Anewz for more updates and have a good morning.